Press the fire What the? What? What the fuck? Oh, sorry, I forgot. Oh God, this has already gone off the rails. This is gonna be a terrible show. Jesus, good to see you again.
I believe in us.
I believe in you. I don't believe in me though.
Believe in me that believes in you.
Oh, holy shit. All right, we're here. We're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Best of 5 show. Man, life's been life's been crazy recently, and I haven't been able to be on here consistently, and I feel awful about it, so please accept my apologies.
Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally.
In some other school areas, they said, my dear Aunt Susie. I'm like, who's Susie? She don't help me with math.
Yeah, no, I learned Sally too. Whoever learned Susie doesn't know what they're talking about. Yeah, but anyway, I just wanted to apologize to everybody for the inconsistencies, both to you, Automattock, and to our the audience, the chat, the people who listen to the podcast everywhere. So apologies. You know, life transitions, man. My life's changing. I'm trying to get my shit together, but we're getting there slowly but surely. And we're back on the podcast. We're back here, the Best of 5 studio, where half of the studio is a blank wall and the other half is a subway tunnel in New York.
Yep. Dago Perry grounds.
Speaking of Dago Perry grounds, Automattock, you sent me this a little earlier, like right before we started the show, and I wanted to play it before we got on screen, but I forgot. But I'm gonna play it anyway because I saw a little bit of it and I thought it was adorable. So, ladies and gents, maybe you could talk us through like some of the thought process behind the clip.
It's just my new favorite stream watcher. It's somebody I found about 20 months ago, and I love her so much. So I hope you enjoy the clip.
Okay. Well, without further ado, here it is. This is the clip. We'll probably want audio.
Here we go, brother. Boom. Boom. Pow. Pow. Pow.
High five. High five. High five.
Damn, I thought she was gonna leave you hanging. That's sick.
I think she tried to high five the Space Marines and not me. Like I tried to reach through the screen.
Yeah, honestly, I would too. But that's awesome. So that's like a little window into the beauty that life is. So I appreciate you sharing that with us because I sure needed it.
Yeah, that was off stream. Yesterday I made that. Like I was just playing with my friend and my parents came home with her, and then she ran into the room. So I was like, "Well, just come hang out for a little bit," because you can't pause video games these days anymore, right?
Yeah. And
she was just laughing, having a good time. The whole video was like 10 minutes long, and I just cut all the reactions out. But most of the time, she's like, "Wow, this is so cool," basically. And she can't really put sentences together. She knows a few words, but she was like getting into it so much and laughing. It was a good old time.
Dude, she gave you a high five, man. I don't know. To me, that's like I can't even give people high five most of the time. I always miss.
Having somebody in real life cheering for you for that, it's pretty cool. Boop, boop, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to see her cheering you on when you're beating people up in Street Fighter 6.
Yeah,
we'll make it happen.
It'll be cheering for her or something.
Yes, exactly. Well, you'll both it'll be like a pyramid scheme of, except like it's not really a pyramid scheme. What's that called? Like a I don't know. Should we just start the show?
Symbiotic relationship, maybe. But like you mentioned earlier, all the negativity on Twitter. Yesterday, I was thinking, man, some people might give me a hard time about this because it's an M-rated game and she's not even 2 years old. And then I shared it with a few people. They're like, "This is so adorable. It's so cute." It's like, all right, whatever. If they have a problem with it, they can kick rocks.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I was hoping to brighten some days up and break up the X discourse of all the grossness. I think it did that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, 1000%. And we are going to talk about a little bit of some of that X grossness throughout the show, and hopefully less of the negativity, more of the positivity. But before we start the show, first of all, I want to shout out Blue Sky. We're on Blue Sky now, so you can follow us over on Blue Sky. I don't know what happened on Twitter, but I just saw a lot of people jumping ship and going to Blue Sky. So we're over there. I've had an account over there for a hot minute, but I never post, so maybe I'll start looking.
I don't know too much about it, but it's they changed the way the block feature works. So if you're blocked, you can still see posts or something like that. And I haven't verified any of this. I've just seen secondhand. Your words are being used to fuel AI and Grok, but I mean, who isn't doing that these days? Right?
Yeah, that was happening with other AIs before Grok came along.
That's all I vaguely know.
Yeah. Well, either way, if you're leaving Twitter for Blue Sky, we're over there too. So give us a follow. We're just the best of you show. And I saw you're at Jibbo over there. So go show him some love. I found your account and I tagged you.
Nice. Let me see.
But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there before we get into all the topics and stuff. And one other thing that I wanted to throw in there, since we haven't done like a tournament recap or anything like that in a hot minute, we haven't had a chance to do a lot of the stuff that I thought was really interesting, which is like the what to watches and all that. So I took a quick gander right before the show started at some of the brackets for the Capcom Pro Tour Singapore Super Major that's happening this weekend. And just I'm talking like I opened the Smash GG. I just looked at some of the names and I wrote some of them down. Here are just some of the names, and there's 386 people total. 385. Sorry, 385 total participants. This is one of the last chances to automatically be qualified into the Capcom Pro Tour, and all that other fun stuff. So here are just a couple of the names that I saw. I took down 5 just because, we're best of 5, so we got 5. Fubar Duck, Texas legend over here, former Arcade UFO owner who then moved to Asia to live out their best life, is joining in. Fenrichi, Dragon Ball FighterZ legend, also done really well in Guilty Gear and in Street Fighter as well. Lex is going to be there as well. Leshar is traveling. Daigo, just a couple of names. Kawano is going to be there as well. I wrote down those 5, but I remember seeing Kawano as well. Koji KOG, Xiaohai,
The big players.
Yeah, just some regular run-of-the-mill names. Gachikun, Rain Pro. Who else? I'm trying to look for one more big one before Dogra. Perfect. Dogra is going to be there as well.
I've heard those names before.
Yeah, Itabashi Zangief, just somebody who won the ECT last week. Eita as well, former, the person who, I think, I most of the reason why I remember Eita's name is, A, they're a good player, and B, I can't remember if they beat L.I. Joe during the first Street Fighter Evo or whether L.I. Joe beat them.
Don't know.
Yeah.
I thought Eita was the one who lost to Marine.
When? This past weekend?
That was like Street Fighter 5 era.
I remember she beat Dogra, and when she was on the show, she talked about beating Dogra. But maybe she has more than maybe she's beat both of them. And
she got a couple names checked off the list.
Yeah, and who was it that she? Yeah, Problem X. She sent Problem X out to losers, which was awesome. So shout outs to Marine, friend of the show. Man, it was what? Before we get into the topics, this is something that I wanted to talk about. Especially this past weekend, when we saw people like Marine sending Problem X into losers. We saw who was the other player? It was Andre, I think. Who sent, was it Daigo to losers as well? There was another huge upset by an American player, and
somebody beat Ending Walker. It may have been the Ken player.
Yes, Lex. That's who I'm thinking of. Yeah, that's exactly who I'm thinking of.
And Angry Bird lost to Young Matt Teen.
Yes, Young Matt Teen, and exactly. So, this, of course, prompted a shitstorm in the Twitterverse of people saying, "Oh, Street Fighter 6 isn't real Street Fighter because these top players are losing to these, their words, not mine, lesser players."
Keep me out of that.
Yeah, no, and like here's the thing. It's like I when I first read about the Marine thing, Marine sending Problem X to losers, I was like, damn. And she did it with Manon too. Although Manon does tend to be pretty strong against Bison because she can EX command grab his scissor kicks. But anyway, that's beside the point. Like we're getting like these American players who are doing really well and consistently do well, like beating up some really big names. And instead of us being excited for them, Twitter is like putting them down, being like, oh, this wouldn't happen last game. And I feel like this is a discussion that happens every time there's a game switch.
Yeah, it does. Whenever there's salt involved, if results are business as usual, it's like, oh, that's how it goes.
Yeah, and
but when there's a little bit of a shakeup, there's like a reach for a different cause.
Yeah, and what's even crazier to me, like it's making my hair actually stand up. How like upset it made me, like what little hair I have, is like why like the people who are complaining about it aren't the people who are like competing, right? It's like there's a lot of people who are like big names in the FGC who are sitting at home just saying, oh, this isn't a real Street Fighter because look at all these big players that got sent down to losers. And it's like, man, why can't we just...
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, why can't we just be excited?
I wish it was undeniably sick, no matter who was looking at it from what angle, and the percentage of people who are grumpy about something, they look obviously just like it's not even interesting to engage with that conversation.
Yeah,
it's so obvious that it was a cool thing that occurred. But I unfortunately see both sides. So I tend to go on the positive and not worry about all the other stuff. But I do understand where people are coming from when they see results. But the problem is there are legitimate problems with Street Fighter 6, but it's not, you can't just tag on what those problems are to the results because maybe your favorite player lost or the results aren't what you thought they were. So just because the game is very volatile doesn't mean that somebody does or doesn't deserve their wins. Sometimes it does mean that they didn't deserve their wins, but who cares? It doesn't matter. It's the game.
It's the world we live in, man. And you know what? It's really funny. I've shared with you, and I think I've shared on this podcast, that I've really been enjoying Street Fighter 6 recently, but only when I'm like super stoned. And I think it's because like my brain gets out of my own way, right? Where instead of thinking, oh, this should have happened this way or this should have happened this other way, I'm just playing the game. You know what I mean? Like my own brain is out of the equation. And I think like that allows, like instead of thinking like what the correct way of playing this game should be, I'm just playing the game. And I'm just, having a good grande old time. And it's it's being reflected not only in the fact that I play for hours and hours when I'm stoned, but I'm also like doing a lot better than I normally would do, especially with Jamie. So I don't know if it's like the chi herbs that he drinks that help ground me to the stoned world of Street Fighter 6, or if it's just my brain getting out of my own way. And I think it's the latter more than the former. Although I'm sure there's like some effects on the former.
Yeah, so there's a lot to be discussed with the way the game works and how the results are consistent but also random. I think both are true. But at the end of the day, I think the discussion is like 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 5. Does 3 out of 5 make it a better game? Maybe more consistent, but it's still the same game.
Man, I don't know who it was. I saw this tweet. I meant to save it and I didn't. Somebody took the took data of like the top 8, I think, from ECT.
Also new, right? And the results didn't change.
Yeah, it was like whoever, like if it was 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 5, the results were exactly the same because one person got to 2 first, and then they just won the last one either way. And they like proved it with like almost every occurrence of this situation throughout ECT, and it was awesome to see like somebody like actually compile the data and be like, here you go.
Did you see Street Fighter League where Brutus and Punk played last night? Brutus won the first 2 games. Brutus won the first 2 games against Punk, and then Punk won 3 in a row.
Yeah, and it happens. It do happen.
Everything is true.
Yeah. No, I can't help but remember Combo Breaker 2022 for Guilty Gear Strive. My first match, I lost 2-0. So I started packing up my stick, and so it was my opponent. And then the TO came over, and it's like, oh, it's 3 out of 5. Then I won 3 straight, and I made it out of pools.
Iced.
And it's like, man, like, granted, like, there, like, obviously, like, there are other factors that caused the 3 in a row to happen. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, it makes a difference, of course, right? You're adding more numbers to a thing. You're adding more opportunities, more decision making. But I don't know, man. I don't know if it's because I'm, like, impatient and getting old, or I see it from, like, the production into things. I don't understand the appeal of a 3 out of 5 tournament all the way through. I genuinely don't. And, like, I guess I get it. If you're, like, a top player, like, it makes things, like, it gives you another chance to be more consistent, right? Especially when, like, this is your livelihood. But, like, the top players are not the only people entering tournaments. So, man, I don't know. I'm not, like, vehemently against 3 out of 5, but I don't think I would like to see 3 out of 5 all the way through the tournament. Maybe like, I'm cool with 3 out of 5 for the top 8. Maybe even, like, top 16 if it gets to that. But me personally, I'm a 2 out of 3 guy, even though the show's called Best of 5 or whatever.
I like all of them.
Yeah,
they're all good.
Yeah, let's see. You know what? Maybe we can get different, like, tournaments to be different formats so that people can play more. Granted, like, TOing is a whole thing that's already very difficult, so I'm not going to put that on TOs. Hell nay. But anyway.
I can see pools being 2 out of 3, and then after that, 3 out of 5. I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, and I feel like people would still find shit to complain about.
Yep. Always going to happen.
So, yeah.
I think that the underlying issue, though, is that people have problems with the consistency and the I don't know, volatile randomness of the game, and being able to control and, you know, find ways to beat your opponent without having to engage with so much gambling. That is really the underlying issue, and that's what people are trying to solve through putting more matches up there, which it does help a little bit. You can collect more data just to have more informed decisions. But at the end of the day, it's the game. It's not. You gotta make the game have more interactions, less damage. Maybe everything shouldn't do corner carry damage and then great Oki and then throw loop in the corner. Maybe everything shouldn't give you that.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
Obviously, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but
yeah, but no,
quite often.
I think Street Fighter 6 is still too young of a game for us to even consider changing the format of the tournaments. That's my take on it as of right now. Especially because, like, if I go and look to see who's qualified for CPT, the Capcom Pro Tour Finals, I'm willing to bet that the majority of the names on there are names that we expected to see up there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The fact that Evo, the largest bracket for Street Fighter 6 this year, with what it was like, what was it? It was like 5,000 people. The grand finals was Big Bird and Punk.
I would still say that there's probably about maybe 150 people you could expect, or maybe even more.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't be surprised if they all got top 8. That's a lot of people.
Exactly.
A lot of people. So I think it's going to happen no matter what.
Exactly. And
you might get an upset here and there, but they may not. They likely won't make it to top 8.
Yeah, and I think that's a product of also the fighting game community itself growing much bigger than it has in the past. In, like, the past, like, 10 years, right? Like, more competition, more equals fiercer competitors, equals people playing at a higher level, right? So, I don't know, man. I guess this is a discussion for another day when we can gather data and spit facts and go
Lots of tangents.
Yes. But anyway, oh my God, we already spent 30 minutes just babbling. All right. Let's cover these topics because one of them we can cover fairly quick. The other two, less so maybe. But I wanted to specifically talk about the big issues, the corporate issues that have been plaguing Bandai Namco and Tekken 8 as of late. With the giant issue itself being the DLC for Tekken 8. What happened here is last DLC when Lydia was released, the stage was included as a free as a free add-on, as a free DLC for everybody, right? And stages in Tekken are more important when you compare them to stages in Street Fighter 6 rather, because the stages in Tekken are different, and that changes the matchups, right? Like stage interactions, like wall breaks, floor breaks, etc., etc. How big the stage is can be beneficial to one character when it being not so beneficial to another character. So they included that stage as part of the DLC. Now, when Heihachi got released, the stage was not only not part of the fighter pass, right? Like for the people who bought the bundle to just be covered for the rest of the season. No, you still got to dish out another $7 for the stage. And there was no other way to get the stage unless you were just buying it by itself. So that causes a lot of problems competitively. That also causes a lot of problems with how things were advertised, right? Because usually, character passes or fight passes or season passes usually are all inclusive. And even if they're not, there's like tiers, right? But this just kind of came out of nowhere. So a lot of people felt very slighted. It kind of reminds me of how I felt about the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie, where they build it as a complete movie, and then after the movie was released, they were like, "Oh, this is only part 1, and it ends in a cliffhanger, so you got to buy a ticket to go see another movie. Fuck you, give us money."
Got him.
Yeah. So it feels very underhanded. It feels very underhanded. Do you have any thoughts?
Not really, man. I played Tekken long enough to where I liked the game and then stopped, and then I just see the complaints from afar, and I'm like, I have my own things to complain about.
Yeah.
Just nothing. It's a little bit off, but nothing makes me happier than seeing Street Fighter 5 players complain about Street Fighter 6.
Oh yeah, because welcome to the club.
I mean, I've been in that club since Street Fighter 4, dog.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
From Third Strike to 4 to 5 to 6, and now I'm seeing 5 to 6, and people are like, back in my day, like, okay, yeah, back in your day, huh?
The 016ers are coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah, I wish the best for the Tekken community. It sucks that corporate's getting in the way. We saw the same thing with the frame data in Tekken 7.
Yep. Yeah,
it's so ridiculous.
Frame data separately.
I think frame data is worth $5. I think it is worth it, but it shouldn't be.
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
If you can help it, make it free.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And there was even a bigger issue last week where a player from China got DQ'd from a Tekken World Tour event in top 8 or top 16 rather.
They just keep on, man.
Yeah, so Tekken has had a rough couple of weeks, mostly because I think it's one of those situations where the Tekken team is focused on, making the game, and Bandai Namco, big corporate overlords, are making all the rules. So there's all these rules. Now, with that said, they unfortunately that did disrupt the tournament, so there's nothing we can do to go back on it now, but they're trying their best to make it right. Like, they're flying the affected player out to Japan for the last chance qualifier, and they're also reaching out to affected players to at least try to comp travel and hotel and stuff. So good on Bandai Namco.
People that lost to that player.
From what I gather, I think that's what they meant. Because things were translated it's a little impossible to know unless you're one of those players.
I think even if you do that, it doesn't make up for it, but it is a good show of community.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. Especially, could you imagine if we lived in a world where we could go to, the other timeline to see, how the tournament would have gone if this didn't happen and the person who got DQ'd won the tournament? And if we had that information, nothing would fix it, right? But we don't. Luckily for Bandai, I guess. And on top of that, they also the Tekken folks also released a tweet today a graphic today over how they're going to change DLC things moving forward. So it's nice to see that they're taking the community feedback to heart and they're doing something about it, instead of what we usually see where it's we hate something or something seems unfair and shitty and then we forget about it a couple months later. But this was what the Tekken team had to say. We apologize for not meeting the community's expectations for the, quote, playable character year one pass, unquote, content and the, quote, Genmaji Tempo, unquote, DLC release method. After thoroughly discussing the feedback, the Tekken project team has decided on the following measures. 1, Playable Character Year 1 Pass Edition. Pass owners will now have access to the Winter Battle Stage DLC without needing to purchase it separately. Hooray! Good decision. And they went over the original content, which was the playable characters Eddie, Lydia, Heihachi, and the winter character, which is to be announced with 72 hours of early access. And the additional content is one battle stage DLC scheduled for winter release. So my hope is that they don't walk this back after this year 1 pass. You know what I'm saying? And secondly, there's Tekken Coins gift. In response to the feedback, which we sincerely acknowledge, we will offer 500 Tekken Coins to everybody who logs into Tekken 8 from October 29th through November 26th. And then at the very bottom, they say, all members of the Tekken project team continue working to improve... Wait. All members of the Tekken project team continue working to improve Tekken 8, and we appreciate your feedback and continued support of Tekken. So, what do the Tekken coins buy you? Oops. I have no idea. My assumption is maybe it's enough for the stage. I don't know.
I lived in a much simpler time, man. You put a quarter in the machine, you play the game, you talk about a bunch of nothing, go home, do it again next week. Now, fighting games just got this gotcha game element. You got to send a mail apology in-game currency.
Yep.
Just that whole thing just made my head hurt and made me feel very old.
Well, I think I think that's how you buy, and this shows how little of Tekken I've played recently, which is a shame because I enjoy Tekken. Maybe not so much Tekken 8, but maybe I just need to play it more. But I'm pretty sure Tekken coins are the stuff that you can buy DLC characters with. Oh yeah, that is the case because I remember it was like a stage was worth, or like a character was like 400 Tekken coins, but you can only buy 500 at a time or some shit. I remember that was an issue. So yeah, lots of predatory shenanigans coming out of the woodworks there. So my hope is that they're gonna walk that back. But sincerely, I don't know if you saw, but there have been reports of Bandai Namco what's it called? I don't know what it's called, but they like put employees into like non-productive rooms where, like, I guess in Japanese culture, since firing somebody is so looked down upon, companies tend to shy away from it. So they're putting employees in these empty rooms where they don't get to work on anything until they leave. And that's how they do layoffs. So that's happening.
They put him in timeout.
Yep.
They put him in
expulsion rooms. Yeah, Pathos in the chat correcting me. Expulsion rooms, wow. They're called. And I guess that's like a normal part of Japanese culture. Instead of getting laid off, they just make you suffer until you leave. Yep.
Bro, I played Blazing Strike today. They sent me a code. I found an infinite within 5 minutes.
Blazing Strike. Is that the new one that's coming out? Or is it out?
Came out today. $40, by the way.
$40? Mm-hmm. Who publishes it? Do you know off the top of your head?
Axis.
Oh, okay. So not Arxis, Axis. AKSYS. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Well.
How about Terry?
Yeah. Yeah, how about Terry? So I did his combo trials and I had a blast with Terry, not Carrie. Different.
Jerry, Larry, Carrie, Terry. He's all the above.
And Mo.
But nothing good.
Okay, so I know you've been playing him, and I specifically so I didn't tell you this, but I was watching your stream yesterday, and I saw the title. It's just yelling at Terry. So
I had a good one today too. I didn't stream yet, or maybe I'm not sure if I will tonight, but I got a good one loaded up.
So
my lane switch to a different character is what the title is.
So is Terry like that bad?
I think he's pretty bad. I mean, it's the most Street Fighter 6 is a fantastic game and fighting game until you get to about like diamond rank, platinum rank. That's when you start to experience like, oh boy, why do I have to blah 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 blah. Terry is fine until you get to like that part of the game. Though I mean, for most people, it's not going to matter too much. You can like those ranks, you can play a completely different game, and the damage is less, and people don't know how to optimize. So there's a lot of room for interactions. I really like that part of the game. But Terry he's lacking so much, and the things that he has, he just get outclassed so easily. Fireball is not as good as other fireballs. The low hitbox property, it doesn't clash with fireballs, which is interesting. It's not always helpful, but it is interesting. His medium fireball is not as good as Shoto fireballs, maybe about the same as Ken's. His mid range is abysmal. It's barely functional. He doesn't have mid range bufferable buttons besides down medium kick, and you don't really get that. If it hits, it's okay, but if they block it, it's really bad. If you just throw them, and then if you throw them, you got to drive rush again, and you do get. He actually has a good throw advantage. It's great. I mean, it's good enough in the corner. It does have a throw loop, but you do have to commit to using drive rush again. But he does have a throw that you can drive rush and then block reversals when you're not in the corner. So that's really good. But otherwise, he's severely lacking. And in the TwitchCon build, there was two things that we tested. The target combo into drive rush cancel into a jab, it actually jailed in the TwitchCon build. And the lane switch was plus on both sides. Now it's only plus if you stay on the same side. And he already got nerfed before we knew it. So I suspect they're gonna buff him probably.
So with the lane side switch thing, do you get to control whether he switches sides or not? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. There's 4 options. There is punch, back, and that keeps you on the same side, and it's plus. It also does some pretty cool things on hit. On hit, you can combo from it, and if it punish counters, it's +6, so you can do down medium punch. And then if you do back and then kick, that'll side switch, but it's safe on block. It's not plus, like -2 or -3. If it hits, you don't get a combo off of that, but it does side switch, and it's hard to see. So then you have 2 more options, which are kind of weird, and those involve baiting uppercuts. If you do punch and then back, or punch and then forward, which will put you behind them, that will make uppercuts whiff. So you can, because if you uppercut, then it's going to hit either side.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can do kick and in front, and that whiffs. That one, I don't know how useful it is. I guess, I don't know. I really don't know. Actually, it's a kick and in front, and that one whiffs. I think you can use that to punish people if they try to parry the lane switch. But it's like, it's barely worth it to do it in the first place. There's some cool places for it, but it's really hard to implement. Next time I play them, I'm gonna try using it pretty much every time and see how it goes.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember seeing that. Like, I feel like that was like one of the things that, like a lot of characters have like rule breaks, right? Like that's how modern characters are designed. Like there's one aspect of them that they break the normal rules of the game. And I think with Terry, like that's kind of what I picked out, is that he has that lane switch. But to hear that it's not like too useful is really interesting.
I'll try it tomorrow or something. Since I'm probably not. I don't know if I'm gonna stream Blazing Strike too much. I'll probably play it for like an hour and be like, yep. And then back to Terry. And then back to Jamie.
Man, that's so bizarre. I figured he'd be really good, so it's interesting to. Although I guess it's one of those things where, like, since you and I play at different levels of the game, I feel like anytime I play against Terry, it's like I'm trying to figure stuff out still. But yeah, that's super interesting.
The main thing is,
go ahead.
Consider how Jamie can at least do medium kick and drive rush. He can do stand heavy kick and drive rush cancel it. He got down medium kick and drive rush. And he has tools like heavy punch you can use in neutral, medium punch you can use in neutral, forward heavy kick. He's got, quite a few things, even though he's not considered to be that good of a character. Terry got down medium kick, that's cancelable. That's it. Everything else, not very good. His heavy punch, the range on his heavy punch is not good for mid-range. So from that, you have stand medium kick, which is not bufferable. You can combo off of it if you're close enough, but you don't want to be close if you're using it as a poke. And you can super if it punish counters, which is decent, but you got a super. And then he has heavy kick, which is similar to Jamie, but it's also similar. I actually haven't measured that yet. It probably is pretty close.
Okay,
and I say only that good on punish counter.
Yeah, I say that because I think I've seen you whiff that button more than any other button I've ever seen you whiff.
Man, I be trying to hit it, man. You need it to punish counter. On block, it actually does pretty good damage to their drive gauge. That's about it. It's -5 on block too. So you have to be like, he doesn't have anything to back up that tool. besides like just medium kick and down medium kick, and it's not good enough.
Gotcha. And I think this is this the first DLC character that's been like sub
Whack,
hard?
yes.
Yeah. Whack. Yeah, we'll go with whack. Yeah, and I say that because I remember, who was the first DLC character that came out? Was it
Rashid?
Oh yeah,
or,
Rashid.
Ed, I think. I forget.
Yeah, well, Ed is extremely strong, and we can tell by representation of the character and how many people play him.
Oh my god.
Same thing with Rashid. And Aki is also like really, really, really good, I think.
Yeah, and Squidly Polly mentions Aki wasn't she bad when she came out. I think most people considered her to be bad. I didn't. I thought she was great, and she had a lot of room to grow, and then they buffed her.
Yep.
She was always pretty good, and then they made her really good.
Yeah. No,
Terry, I don't see the same thing unless they put him like do something to him.
Yeah. No, and I think Bison was the same thing, right? Where like he came out really strong. Although now that people are learning the character, it feels like he's a little weaker. But I can just scissor kick more. There you go, and you win. As long as you space it right. But yeah, I think this is the first time we've seen a DLC character be not like top tier. So I'm curious to see if they're gonna change anything, and I guess this is one of those things where we'll just have to wait and see until whatever happens. And honestly, I don't think we're gonna get anything until Capcom Cup Finals, right? Because Mai is slated to come out in the winter, so
hey,
it's gonna be a while. But yeah, we'll have to touch base again with your Terry next time on the show to see if we can find any positives. Although, like you said, there are a lot of positives. But in a game where everybody can blow you up in 2 combos with a billion drive rush,
he is pretty good in the corner. Everybody is really good in the corner, and he has good corner carry. He has a lot of combos that can, like in 2 hits, he'll put you in the corner from the other side of the screen. So more than likely, the first hit, if he hits you mid range, you're likely going to be in the corner, or if not near it. So he is good at that.
Yeah. No, I'm really curious now if like how Ken and Chun are gonna be in City of the Wolves.
Until Capcom apologizes, they're gonna keep those 2 characters not good.
Like, is this another issue of like Capcom SNK like butting heads? Like they purposefully made Terry bad in the game.
That's crazy.
That'd be really funny. Okay, so we were going to talk about how our job, like skills you learn working, transferred to fighting game skills. However, I was not able to set up our call-in system very well, and we talked for 30 minutes at the top of the show, so I think we're going to skip that topic for today.
Okay, cool.
In the interest of staying on time. So I'm going to get into some of the issues that the FGC has had with alienating women. Automattock, you are going to peace out.
All right.
Bye. No, and like I said, we're gonna touch base with your Terry next week, and we're gonna talk about this dang topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, with skills like that we use in real life that we can transfer to fighting games. Because
yeah, that'd be good to plan out too. Because I don't want to do it off the top of my head. I could probably think of some funny things for that.
Yeah, no, and the reason I bring this up is if you guys haven't heard, like I recently switched careers, right? I'm like working at a burger shop now. It's my first ever service industry job, and it's a transition like the nuns of which I have ever experienced in my life. Mostly because I've only worked in offices, right? So now I'm like doing a physical job, and like that's been a crazy transition. But like learning how to do a service industry job, I've been like tying it back to playing fighting games all the time. It's like, right?
Yeah, I almost feel like you can do it the other way around. Like what fighting game skills are transferable to real life skills.
Yeah,
that's an interesting subject as well.
Yeah, like genuinely, like one of the things that I've struggled with the most, and I feel a little bit embarrassed to share this, is one of the things I struggle with the most is just like taking people's orders, right? If somebody tells me an order, I have to press the button on the machine, and you would think that's simple, but there's so many fucking buttons everywhere. So like execution, I gotta work on my execution for work.
You gotta dial a combo to put in the combo.
Yeah. And then you gotta call the food out to the kitchen, you gotta more execution stuff, and like you gotta do like some Korean backdashes to get to the milkshake machine, It's crazy. But yeah. So we're gonna talk about that next week. And I know
All right.
I've been talking about wanting to talk about this for a while, but we'll get to it.
Good to be back.
Yeah, no, thank you for getting back here, and thank you for sharing the clip of your biggest cheerleader when you're beating up the whatever they're called. I don't know what they're called.
Terminate, I think. I'm learning a little bit about Warhammer lore. I slept to 3 hours of Warhammer lore, so I learned a few words like I think I forgot it already. But the Emperor, Emperor, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Now,
the only
my
thing
friend.
Go ahead.
My friend told me, like, I was like, my daughter was really enjoying it. He was like, unfortunately, your daughter can't be a space marine because she's only men can be space marines. It's part of the lore. I'm like,
Yep.
All right, man.
Yeah, no, I know like that like the space, like whoever like owns the space, or like whoever the space marines belong to, like I know that that's like a straight up like parody of like a dictatorship. And I know that game does get very political, which is awesome. I love that. But the one thing I do know about Warhammer is, and this is like something our mod Pathos shared with me, is that there's orcs, right, in Warhammer?
I've heard that name before.
Yeah, like I forget what they're called, but when they get to Warhammer 40K, because they're not as technologically advanced, they shouldn't have like spaceships and stuff. But because apparently this is in lore, by the way, apparently because they just believe that their stuff works and they believe on it so hard, it works. So they have spaceships. That's the one thing I know about Warhammer. And I think it's my favorite thing ever. And it's, maybe I should just believe I'm a better player than I am, and maybe I'll get better.
Maybe you should play with us. We need a third.
Okay. So I get paid tomorrow, so I'll purchase it, and we'll get on it. We'll get on it. All right.
The CD key too.
CD key.
All right, I'm getting out of here.
All right. Thank you, Automattock. We'll catch you in the next one for sure.
Okay. Goodbye.
Goodbye. And then we're gonna sit here slightly awkwardly because I forgot to set up this thing. So I do apologize that we're, Automattock is, he's nonplussed. He doesn't like what we're talking about right now. Mostly because he doesn't talk about he doesn't like when women are harassed. And I could say that on his behalf, I think. I don't know. But anyway, I'm just setting up this shot here. So I'm just speaking words because I forgot to do this when I should have. And now I'm doing it on the fly because I am unprepared and a little bit of a jerk. But, now we're going to move over here. So, hey. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Best of 5, where I forgot to set stuff up when we're going to talk about a really, really important, really important topic. So, I wanted to touch on this. At first I was going to ignore it, and I was going to at least like touch on how it's negative, but it's been nagging at the back of my head since I saw this happen, in the last couple of days, and we've covered this time and time again on this show, and I want to keep covering it because it keeps being a problem. And that is how the fighting game community treats women. And we got a great example of that this past week with, the thing with Marine and Problem X, right? I think that's a huge thing where like people were trying to discredit Marine, sending Problem X to losers, right? Which is really shitty. But the thing that kind of blew up the most is Supriyan, who is somebody who's been in the fighting game community for a long time, has dealt with some of the most disgusting bullshit to ever happen in this community. Some of you remember Cross Assault, and I bring this up just to say that it happened. I want to be very clear. Supriyan has been very clear that her and Eris patched things up. They're cool. We're fine. But I'm just bringing this up because this is something that has happened in the past, and it's a very good example of things that keep happening. And something that I'm even a little bit embarrassed to share this, but my thought process before was, man, I just want to play fighting games. I'm not the one causing the problem, so why should I be the one to try to fix them or like try to do something about it, right? But in the end of the day, we are all a part of this community, right? So when we say something like, or when women say like the FGC doesn't treat women well, even though individually I am not a part of this problem, I am still a part of the community, and we have to tackle this problem, right? And even though you can have an experience where you don't see a woman getting harassed or assaulted or like treated badly, doesn't mean that it doesn't happen, right? And I think that's something that we need to really start confronting. Is like we have this issue where like there's a lot of people in this community, much like how I used to be, that kind of don't have object permanence with this kind of stuff, where if they don't see it, it doesn't exist, right? So that needs to change. And I think I think one of the best ways for us to do it is for us to just tackle this problem head on, right? And like talk about it, make it the forefront of an issue, and make things better for women who just want to play fighting games, right? So I'm gonna bring up a lot of stuff in the past, from the past, and my hopes is that by showing you that this has been a consistent problem in the years, hopefully we can all, like I said, tackle this problem head on and hopefully fix it sooner rather than later, so this stops being a problem. But this was already a point of discussion this year. This year alone, this was already a point of discussion. You guys remember back in April, where I think it was a Tokyo Game Show or a Japanese event had so many women join, and we saw a lot of women who usually aren't like traveling abroad to play fighting games, but we saw them all kick ass, and it was awesome. And it prompted a lot of discussion around this very topic. So much so that, you know, Sonic Fox, friend of the show, tweeted this out in April 28th. I wish we can get more NA women in our offline scene. Seeing all these Japanese women kicking ass is so cool, and I hope we continue to try and cultivate an inclusive and safe place so that more women come out and show off their nooch. So I would almost like to say that this is the issue is like that. First of all, Sonic Fox, this is absolutely correct, right? The issue is not with what Sonic Fox tweeted. The issue is with the world around it. And just in that tweet alone, I can't tell you how many replies I've seen of people who I don't think talk to women all that much. And I hate to like kind of put that out there, but it genuinely feels that way, where like there's people who just hate women, and I don't understand like what the problem is. And I guess maybe there's like something wrong with brains or something. I don't know. I'm having a hard time putting myself in their shoes, where they literally say stuff like, good, yeah, women shouldn't be in the FGC, or, you know, things like that, right? We've had sexist and racist tirades in the past by top players, you know, Chris G, people like Wolf Crone making life hell. And, you know, what's really interesting is something that I kind of think back to a lot, that kind of like really put this in the back of my mind about how women are treated in the FGC is, if you guys remember, back in 2017 or 2018, there was a panel at EVO hosted by Combo Queens about women in the FGC. And there was backlash. There were like a bunch of crybabies online complaining that, you know, they're getting their own space, blah, blah, blah. It genuinely just felt like people had FOMO for not being the subject of a panel, and they hated they hated the women for that, and that's not okay, right? You know what's even more interesting is I went into the rabbit hole to see like more examples of this kind of stuff, and I found this, which is old now, but is very interesting still. Is a series that PlayStation did with Persia a while back when Street Fighter V was still new and fresh, about the women of the FGC. Here's a screenshot of the video. It's called Women of the FGC, and it features multiple women. I found this one of Marine, of course, friend of the show. Persia, also friend of the show. I got to hang out with her quite a bit at EVO this year, and she's really, really nice. So go support her in the best ways that you can. And this is on the official PlayStation channel, right? And all of the videos of this series are so badass, and they're so cool, right? Because they highlight individual women and their achievements in the FGC and what they did to get there and like how they trained, etc., etc. And then I thought, let me take a look at the comments. You guys want to guess what I saw when I went to the comments? And now this is on the PlayStation's official channel, mind you. I'll give you guys a hint. There were no comments. Why? The comments were disabled. Why? protecting these women from exactly the type of shit that Super Yan, that Marine herself, and a lot of other women in the FGC have had to deal with. So that's a pretty good example of that. I also went diving and I found an old Core A gaming video on this exact subject. And I have a little bit of a clip here. And this is a clip from Core A Gaming's video called What It's Like to Be a Female Fighting Gamer. And this is Gerald from Core A interviewing a bunch of women, mostly in Japan, about their experiences in the fighting game community. And honestly, there is so much parallel here that is absolutely something we need to pay attention to. And I know a lot of people do say that the Japanese scene tends to be more inviting to women, right? Because there aren't as many issues as in the North American community, which perfectly fair. However, the issues that they still face in the Japanese community are still extremely relevant, and are the same type of issues that women go through whenever they try to dominate, or not whenever they try to dominate, whenever they try to enter a space that is genuinely dominated by shitty men. So here is that clip. I'm going to show maybe like a minute or so, and this is Core A Gaming's What It's Like to Be a Female Fighting Gamer. Brackets in 4K.
でもやっぱり女性だからっていう部分で注目が集まりやすいからこう少し大変な部分も多いと思うあると思います。
やっぱりなんかこうゲーセンで目立ってちょっと色眼鏡的なところに見られることとか、あとはこうゲームが好きじゃなくてやってるんじゃないみたいな言われ方とかする。なんかこう男性と遊ぶのがちやほやされたりとか、そういうのは気にしてやってたんで、でももうそれはもう乗り越えて今はもうゲームだけ頑張ってやってる感じです。
女性だからちょっとまあそうですね、困ったこととかはその結構強くなった時に、遠征で県外に、旅行なんか行って、その時にゲームセンターで、ランクの近い人と対戦したくて行くんですけど、女の子っていうだけでやってくれない人が結構いるんですね。それはやっぱり女に負けるのは嫌っていうのが大きいのかなと思うんですね。女の子に負けたって、みんなにちょっと言われちゃうじゃないですか。お前女の子に負けたんかって。でそれが嫌で多分やってくれなかったんだと思うんですけど、そこそこ強くなってからそこが一番そうですね、辛かったですね。
So, a lot of these issues are extremely, extremely similar to what women kind of have to deal with in male-dominated spaces in general. But I bring this up, I bring this video up specifically to kind of try to help some of the people here who either don't interact with women, whether by like circumstance or whether by their own self-isolation or whatever. But think of it like this. The first time you ever went to your local in the fighting game community, right? That's a scary, scary thing, right? I always liken it to when I first moved to Austin back in 2015. I didn't know anybody. I managed to find the Austin FGC group on Facebook. And it was one of those things where you have to go to get the ball rolling, right? It's a scary thing. You don't know anybody. You don't know what it's going to be like. You don't know, like, if people are going to be nice, if they're going to be mean, if they're going to welcome you, if they're going to, like, punch you or whatever, right? It's a scary, scary thing. So imagine all of these insecurities that we all go through when we first started going to our fighting game locals and tournaments and such. And now add on top of that being a woman, where, like, just the fact that you're a woman, like they said in the video, like, it's easy to become the center of attention and people stare and people, like, create excuses and they treat you differently, et cetera, et cetera. Like, all of that stuff is so ridiculously compounded that it makes it super, super duper difficult for women to get more involved in the fighting game community, in spite of the fact that there are so many women who already do so much for the scene. Right, there are so many women who work behind the scenes in the fighting game community to make sure that we have great tournaments that we can go to and we watch great streams. Hell, just this past Evo, the stage manager was a woman, and she was like teaching me how to do shit, and it was amazing, right? And like it, we have Ilan Automattock, who does so much for Combo Breaker and for Evo. We have Persia, who has done so much for the fighting game community with Combo Queens and the EXO Academy. We have Marine, who is an amazing commentator, right? Like we have women who are in front of the camera and behind the camera, on the tournament grounds and behind the scenes, who do so much. Yet we all kind of, like as a collective, treat them differently just because they're women. That's terribly not okay, right? And a perfect example of that is this issue that has been happening with Super Yan, where Super Yan went to ECT to compete, and she is somebody who's is somebody who's been competing for years and years and years, is an amazing human being. I got to chat with her a little bit, very, very briefly, at Evo last year, and she is such a great human being, so nice. And she's getting harassed for having tits. I hate to put it so bluntly, but literally, that's what's happening. So she shared that she automatically avoids playing on stream, specifically for this kind of reason, right? She avoids playing on stream at all costs, so that she doesn't like have to deal with people being weird. And however, at ECT, she made it to winners finals of her pools and had to fight Daigo, which had to be on stream. So there was no option for her to not play on stream. And her nightmare, the specific reason why she doesn't play on stream, is exactly what happened. And this was kind of all spurred by a VOD leecher, right? And VOD leechers, at least that's what I kind of call them, are the people who just upload VODs that don't belong to them, right? Like they see a match happening on somebody's stream, they just upload it as their own just to get those views on YouTube. And it's it's really shitty. Also, if I'm not mistaken, illegal. But it's very difficult to deal with in this internet landscape that we live in. So one of these VOD leechers uploaded her set against Daigo on stream, and it looks like they used AI to write the title, which makes it even worse because they had to prompt it this way, right? But this was the title of the video that kind of spurred all this. It's a Street Fighter SF6 Shy Daigo Akuma in CPT Pools Finals versus Super Yan female Honda player Street Fighter 6. So, Shy Daigo and females. First of all, the people who say female instead of just saying woman are like. It's difficult for me to put myself in your shoes if you use that term. Just because, I don't know, man. It's fucking weird. Right? Am I the only one that thinks that? I don't know. It feels weird. I don't like it. Yeah, I think the best way to put it is people who call women females are just boys. There we go. I like that. I'm going to keep that one in the back pocket. But anyway, so most of the comments under this video were just talking about how Daigo was trying not to look at her and her, and like this is the kind of shit that is exactly the core of the problem. So going back to Sonic Fox's tweet of I wish we can get more North American women in our offline scenes. Here is a perfect example of why more women are not involved in the FGC. And you can say as much as you want, like, oh, that's people online. We don't have any control over that. We absolutely do. Twitch has moderation options for everybody, and I think that has to, unfortunately, because people can't behave themselves and be normal, that is something that needs to ramp up, right? If we're truly an inclusive community like we tout that we are, things have to change so that we make things suitable for women, right? And I think the biggest thing that we need to remember too is, how do I word this? Oh, yeah. Just because we have amazing women in the fighting game community that have persevered through all of this bullshit to become top players or contribute to the scene in meaningful ways doesn't mean that that's normal, right? Because we have women who persevered on top of, like, in spite of all this, doesn't mean that they need to be dealing with all of this bullshit. It doesn't mean that they like every woman or like literally anybody should have to deal with all of this bullshit. So I think that's something that's very important for us to remember. And there's I can only speak from my perspective, right? As a privileged man who looks white. I saw a post from King Hippo, the Them's Fighting Words blog, where he specifically talked about how he has caught himself treating women differently, and how, you know, that's kind of the big thing of the problem, right? Or like that's how like the big like onus of the problem is for us to call ourselves out whenever we show bias, right? Hell, I myself have caught myself like thinking differently because of somebody's sex, right? Because somebody's a woman. I'm guilty of that, and I try my best to call myself out on it every time that happens, and I think we all should. You know, and it goes back to, we're just trying to get together to play fighting games, and as things are right now, women have a harder time doing that than us men, because they have to deal with all this extra attention and all this extra bullshit of people being weird. I saw a post on somebody wrote an article about the, you know, we talked about a little bit of it earlier, the women's panel at Evo in 2017, and like the backlash that got. But in the panel itself, the writer, who is a woman, shared that like her listening to other women talking about these issues like helped empowered her so that she knows she's not alone, right? And also in that same panel, you know, almost every panelist shared a story of their FGC stalker, right? That's fucked, right? I don't have any other words for that. For every panelist in a woman of the FGC panel to share that they have had, every one of them have had stalkers in the fighting game community because people can't treat women normally, is absolutely terrible. And I think it all all of this has been like the norm for years and years and years before my time in the fighting game community, and I hope not after my time in the fighting game community. You know what I'm saying? So, what is the solution to all of this? What is the solution to helping women feel more comfortable in the fighting game community? It's simple. It's a simple solution, but it's a very complicated solution because we're talking about an entire community here. But it's to just be normal. Just fucking be normal, right? Don't like automatically assume things about women that you wouldn't about men. Just be fucking normal. Everybody's a human being. Everybody poops. Everybody poops. My friends and I used to say that during high school. Everybody poops, right? So just be fucking normal. And listen to women when they say that somebody is harassing them, right? Be the voice that I think my goal these recent years is to kind of like be somebody that can like help forward information, right? Like if something happens, if somebody gets harassed, my hope is that I can help send it to the people who actually can make a difference, right? The people who are running tournaments, the people who are admins, et cetera, right? And I think if we all try to act that way a little bit, things can start to improve. Now, we also have to remember that, you know, every person is going to have a different experience, right? Because every person has a different brain. We're not all just like one, like amorphous blob thinking the same thing. We all experience the world in different ways. Hell, we all probably see colors differently, but because we're all taught in school that this is a blue color, you know, we all think the same color is blue, but we all might be looking at different colors. So I don't know. This is such a frustrating problem because it feels like the solution is just very simple, and it's literally to just be normal and not be weird. Not if somebody doesn't want to speak to you or doesn't want your attention, don't give them your fucking attention. Go find somebody who does. You know what I'm saying? Like I to me, that's the simplest like thing to do. And I understand that, like, you know, sometimes like we get wrapped up in our own pride, right? Where like if we get rejected by somebody, like be it man or woman or NB, you know, it hurts. But why would you something that somebody told me in high school that kind of really changed my perspective of the world, like from just being stuck in here to like thinking about the world itself, is why would you want to be somewhere where you're not wanted? Why would you want somebody's attention that does not want to give you their attention or does not want you around them? Right? Why? Ask yourself that. Why? And what value do you get out of escalating the situation by being where you are not wanted? And I think we can tie all this to all the players who have been banned previously that have been trying to sneak back into the FGC. But yeah, and you know, what sucks is because, you know, I am not a woman. I don't know like exactly what the problems are. I can just show you what I've seen and what I perceive to be the problem. So the most important thing we can do as men, as non-female, shit, I just said the thing. Oh my God. I'm going to go jump off a bridge. As people who are not women, is listen. That's it. All we can do is listen and be proactive about what we hear. So when a woman says something like, hey, this top player assaulted me, we should probably look into it. Whenever we see, you know, see like a woman say, hey, I got drugged at this Red Bull FGC after party, that's not okay. We should look into it. And we should make sure that this shit stops happening, because in all of the problems that you and myself as men face, women face double that because of the addition that they're a woman. And I just want to end it with this. I'm not going to share too many details, but one of the big reasons why I haven't been here doing the show and doing content like I want to is because my partner went through an injury. I'm not going to go into any deeper details, but I got to see this shit firsthand, where my partner had an injury. She went to the hospital. The hospital misdiagnosed her, even though she told the doctors, hey, something is wrong. This is not correct. They said, oh, you're fine. And then she had to go seek help from a gynecologist to get the proper help. And then turns out she had surgery and there was an actual problem. And, you know, now we're dealing with it. Where if the problem was just taken care of when she initially got injured and went to the hospital, instead of getting turned away, things would be much different. You know what I'm saying? And this is like a common thing for women, getting help medically, and like on top of just like everything else that's already happening is a huge issue, right? So, and also I just want to also add, just because you and I don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You know what I mean? So let's be better. And something I'm going to be doing moving forward is calling myself out whenever I tend to show bias or whenever I'm not being normal. You know what I mean? And I think that's something we should all do. And it's just to make sure that everybody around us is as comfortable as they can be, so we can all press buttons together without any issues. You know what I'm saying? Is this going to be solved overnight? No. Is this going to be solved in general? I hope so. Something that I did see that I do want to highlight before we leave is Mrs. Playstuff. If you haven't seen Mrs. Playstuff at Mrs. Playstuff on Twitter, she posts some absolutely hysterical content, and I love her content. And she also like highlights a lot of like the harassment that she goes through as a content creator, being a woman on the internet. You know what I'm saying? But she posted this. This was last month, but I just wanted to bring this up again. So please check out her Twitter. This was a tweet back in September 29th of this year. Hi, women of the FGC. I wanted to do one podcast talking about your experiences in the FGC and how you would feel the scene should improve to get better. Is this something that you would join? I would be more of the narrator on this podcast. I think it would be nice for new and old ones to hear about it. I am open for suggestions, and I may make it mixed, boys and girls, if that is a better environment to be in. So I look forward to seeing that. I look forward to seeing that podcast whenever it comes out. And I'll definitely be keeping an eye out. For those of you that are interested in, like learning more about the women that run our events, before, just for those people who are like need to learn a little bit better. Red Bull. I hate that it was written by Ian Walker because, Ian Walker I've had some issues with Ian Walker's writing in the past. However, I can't help but to highlight this because this was a great read and also a very important read. And I'm going to drop this in the chat, but this was an article for redbull.com. And it was about the women who run our favorite FGC events. And he specifically highlights a lot of the women who do amazing work who aren't in the limelight, right? Who aren't in front of the camera. And he also does a really good job of highlighting like some of the issues that these women face. So that's very important. I'm going to have this link here in the chat, and I'm going to make sure that this link gets to the description of our videos as well after this gets uploaded. And one final thing that I wanted to show as well is, let me see if I can find it here. I had it earlier. And there was a podcast about specifically black women in the FGC. Here it is. Here we go. It is from a podcast called Spawn on Me with Khalif Adams, and it's about the ladies of the FGC, specifically the perspective of black women in the FGC. So especially with some of the problems that we've faced or that we've seen in the FGC with people being ignorant, specifically towards black women in the FGC, Chris G. I think that's a podcast that's also very, very important for us to watch. And if nothing, just so you can take away that it is a fact, it is a proven fact that women deal with more shit than us men do because we are in a male-dominated community. So listen to women, treat women better, and be fucking normal. All right? That's all I have to say on the topic. I'm sure we're going to cover this again whenever somebody else does some dumb shit. But, I think the important thing for us here is to not let this become a callous where we see it happen and write it off as, oh, it happened again. I think we need to be I think we need to be more proactive as a community in talking about this and making sure we highlight what's wrong and how we can fix it. You feel me? I hope this is helpful. If there are people who have had experiences with this kind of BS and want to talk to me about it, please feel free to DM me on Twitter. You could also DM me at Elon@bestofeshow.com. I'd love to learn more. I'm always trying to improve and trying to help make this the truly inclusive community that I think it is, or that I think it should be rather. And my hope is that by us being more proactive and by us like highlighting this shit and calling it out and squashing it as much as we can, that we can start working towards making the FGC a better place. You feel me? All right. I've gone over. Chat, people listening, people watching, I appreciate you all being here. Genuinely, I really do. While I have this time, I just wanted to say again, thanks for bearing with me through my these inconsistent past few months. It's been a crazy time in my life, and know that making stuff here and doing FGC stuff is at the forefront of my mind. And I'm very frustrated that I can't do everything, right? It's not a mental thing, it's a physical thing. So my hope is that in the coming weeks, now that I'm starting to get a handle on what my schedule actually looks like and things are normalizing, I'll be able to be on here more often. I'll be able to make better stuff more often. And my hope is in the future that I'll be back to traveling. That I think is my big goal. My big goal is to get back to traveling, get back to going to tournaments, and doing some of the streams like we did at Evo and at Texas Showdown, where we're at the venue, like interacting with people and doing fun stuff. So that's my hope, and I'm working my ass off to hopefully hopefully get us there one day. Hopefully sooner rather than later. But thank you everybody for joining. This has been another episode of Best of 5. If you missed it at the very top of the show, we're on Blue Sky now, so feel free to follow us on Blue Sky. And big thanks to Automattock for hopping on the show with us and chatting it up about all the stuff that we chatted, including the unscripted stuff. That was really fun. Shout out to Super Yan. I spoke to I DM'd Super Yan, and she gave me her blessing to discuss the issues that she's been dealing with. So thank you to Super Yan for allowing me to blab on about this and hopefully get something done about this sooner rather than later. Big thanks to Blue. Blue is our editor slash producer slash anime news guru. So you can follow him at AFGC News. He runs, I think, in my opinion, one of the best Twitter accounts to stay up to date on fighting game news when it comes to anime games. Squidly, thanks for being here. I know you've been a staunch member of this community, and I just want to say I appreciate you. Die by Sword, you know, you're not called the patron saint of Best of 5 for nothing. I saw you gifted a sub to Squidly, and thank you for that. Know that I appreciate every single one of you here. Shayon, I saw you were in here earlier as well, so thank you all. We'll hopefully I'm gonna get back on the horse when it comes to all this stuff. I also saw Later Dragon was in here earlier. I see Pathos. Did I say your name? Pathos. I appreciate you being here, man. Man, Pathos has been with me like for fucking like millennia. I don't get it. I say this jokingly. This is all appreciation. But and for anybody that's listening to the audio podcast, man, thank you. If you're listening to this because you enjoyed the content, know that means the world to me, and I hope that I can keep making stuff that you can listen to. At this point, I feel like I'm just stalling because I finally hit the go live button. Now I don't want to go offline. But anyway, yeah. So that's gonna be it. Thank you, everybody. If I forgot to thank anyone, I'm sure you know that I'm grateful. And if you don't know that, I am, and I will say that soon. And please remind me. So, yeah, make sure to check us out on bestofeshow.com. You're not a millennial old, only 800 Pathos? Okay, I apologize. You're right. I'm sorry. I was only 200 years off. But anyway, okay, I'm gonna turn this off before I get into another tangent that doesn't matter. Yep. All right. Later, everybody. I'll see y'all. I'm hoping to stream tomorrow, but we'll see. But I'll see y'all hopefully tomorrow. Until then, goodbye. And keep on fighting. That still doesn't work. All right. Yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore. Later.